Welcome to our museum exhibit, The War We Forgot and the Conflict We Didn't, describing the offensive on the Korean Peninsula and its after effects in modern politics.
Viewers of the exhibit will enter here through the entrance. Entrance is modeled after a military checkpoint, where visitors will enter here past roadblocks, barbed wire fences, and a kiosk. From here they will pass an info panel, which will show them a general overview of the exhibit to come.
After this introduction, they will be passed up a flight of stairs into the first section of this exhibit, which details the first half of the Korean War. Here, they will see an overview of the war itself, as well as some details on the key events of the time.
From there, they will head to a timeline of the first half of the Korean War, detailing key events between right before the war and right before the main Chinese offensive southward during the war.
After this, they will pass on to the first interactive portion of this exhibit, the binocular VR. Here, they'll be allowed to look through a pair of binoculars that will show them 3 looped video clips from 3 different times and places in the Korean War.
From here, the guests will go across this bridge to the second tower. At this tower, they will get to our second interactive exhibit, the parabolic microphone, which will allow them to listen in on Korean and Chinese radio chatter.
After this, in the background, they will also hear an ambient radio audio of Truman's speeches, different newscasts by Koreans in the time of the war, and so on and so forth.
There will also be a timeline for the second half of the war, detailing events after the main Chinese assault southward up to the peace and armistice settlements.
In the back of this room, there will be a LCD screen lit map that will have 3 different changing states to show the inflection points of the war and the huge areas of land that the fronts covered.
After this, the guests will go down a flight of stairs to our Wiley's M38 interactive Jeep. From here they can enter, seeing as it has no doors, and they can look through the windshield, which we have set up as a visual video display. It will be on a loop showing troops, tanks, vehicles, etc. being mobilized. There will also be audio of an engine idling to increase immersion.
After this, visitors will walk into the last portion of our exhibit, which details negotiations and modern and postmodern effects that the war has had. The first thing that we see here is a large propaganda poster that depicts the North Koreans as communist monsters. This will begin to give the audience a sense of feeling for how the people felt at the time in regards to communism.
From here, the people will be able to see a large table with different binders for the various nations. In each of the binders, it will detail the goals of the 2 major factions, which were the communist groups and the United UN forces.
After this, they will see a large panel on the wall depicting the containment doctrine and effects of the Korean War on communist policy. They will see described in detail Truman's doctrine of intervention at whatever cost, whenever necessary, to deter communists, and how this conflict in the Korean front and this way of thinking in these circumstances would later enforce the thinking that led to the Vietnam conflict.
From here, people, right before exit, will see video and info panels on modern relations between North and South Korea, as well as the US and Korea, especially focusing on recent developments in peace talks and talk of finally ending the Korean War.
That's the end of the exhibit. We hope that from entering this exhibit and passing through and learning about the forgotten war, these audiences and viewers in the audience will learn about the significance of this war and really why it should not be forgotten in American history.